Good afternoon to all our fans and friends. It's 1:15 Eastern European Time or 11:15 Greenwich Mean Time. I'm here with Professor Richard Pettinger from the University College London. Richard, it's a pleasure to have you here.
And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much indeed.
Ask Virardi episode 151 features Richard Pettinger, who is the Principal Teaching Fellow in Management Education and Director of the BSc MSc Information Management for Business. He has also written over 30 books. One of the most famous ones that I know is the Management for Dummies. And he has extensive management experience. He's a consultant to a number of large and small organizations in all sectors. We will be discussing very interesting topics with Richard today. So once again, welcome to the Ask Virardi show.
Thank you very much indeed, Michael. It's a pleasure to have been invited along. Absolutely great.
I was so much looking forward to it. Thank you very much. So Richard, what drew you into teaching?
Right. What drew me into teaching was luck. I was working as a bureaucrat in local government for Kent County Council when somebody from UCL rang up one of my colleagues and asked her if she would like to do some management teaching. She said no, but she would ask around, and I was the first person that she bumped into. And that was 29 years ago, and I've been here ever since.
Someone said no, you said yes.
Yes, absolutely that. Yes.
And how is it to be an author of 30 books? On the one hand, it's absolutely wonderful. It is nice to know that people want to read your stuff, and it's nice to know that people think that you've got something to say. We did the first book purely because we didn't have a decent textbook for the Foundations of Management course that we were running here. After that, people started asking me to do other things, and after that, other people then said, "Oh yes, this person looks okay," and it's just gone on from there. I've just been really lucky to be in the right place at the right time. I have a question still to ask, a sub question, but let me read a comment from one of our friends and fans. His name is Pan Fuli. He says, "Management for Dummies was a great book, bought it in 2011, very manageable, informative, and easy to read." So tell us about your books, Richard.
It is lovely that somebody thinks of them like that, because all you ever set out to do with a book is to give people, it doesn't matter whether it's a textbook or whether it's a for dummies book or whether it's a novel, all that the reader wants out of it is, was this a good read, and did I get out of it what I expected to get out of it?
So what are your topics and what are your areas of interest, and who should be reading your books,
right,
just to find out?
And there's about 3 different readerships that we have. The first is university students, and that is because of my university background. The second is anybody who is looking for managerial expertise, and from the Dummies books and also from some of the other things that we've done with people like Kogan Page, that's they're useful for that. And then you've also got the sort of the general readership, people who would pick up a Dummies book at an airport or a railway station to find out just exactly what this is all about. That's the that is all that we have ever targeted. Yeah.
Can I ask something? Are the Dummies books being read by smart people?
Oh yes, certainly yes. No, that's right. The strap line is actually, sort of a handbook for the rest of us. And no, I mean, you have to be a little bit. You have to know what it is that you think that you are looking up, just the same with any other reference book or just the same with any other non-fiction book. You've got to have, it's no use picking up a cookbook if you have absolutely no idea how to work in a kitchen. And the same with a Dummies book for management or business or anything like that, of course.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Evis Zenyos says hello from lovely and finally rainy Cyprus.
Okay.
And The Art of Sales. Evis has written a book on the art of sales very recently.
Oh wow, yeah.
So Evis just sent a copy here at UCL to Richard Pettinger. He will appreciate it a lot whenever you have the time.
He will, and he will return the compliments as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Richard, what's the feeling of teaching in one of the top universities in the world, University College London?
It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I came in to do the first classes on a Friday afternoon for 2 hours, and
it went on from there. I took to this place like a duck to water. For whatever reason, they liked me and invited me back, and then back and back again, and until they gave me a proper job. I was always under the impression that that I'd like to do some university work. I've worked at a lot of universities in the UK and across the world, and UCL has always felt like home, and the work that we do, the quality of the people that you work with, the fantastic students, and the expert staff. This place has got Nobel Prize winners coming out of its ears, and all subject areas that we cover. We have, it's just a fantastic setup, and long may it continue.
And I was very impressed with your students today, over 150. Yes.
Oh yeah, no, they're a good bunch of students, and and the numbers have skyrocketed over the years. We had as Michael says, we had a fantastic turnout today. We have over 150 on the first year of our program, and that's gone up from 15 or 30 in the early years. And we find that as the word gets around, that not only are we a good university, but we actually put on good undergraduate courses as well. More and more people apply to come to us. It's terrific.
Since you talk about applications, how hard is it for a student to get into this university?
It's hard, of course it is. It's competitive. The people that we target are at the top end of the high school grades range. We ask now for 3 A's at A level, or 38 international baccalaureate points, or the equivalent in domestic high school qualifications. As we have put the qualification levels up, so the number of applicants has gone up, and so the number of people converting their application into real grades and then being able to come to us has gone up as well. We think that the higher that you ask people to set their standards, the higher they will set their standards. The higher that you ask people to, harder and more effective that you ask people to work, the harder and more effective they will work. And it's gone on like that. We've developed everything out of all recognition to what we started off with, and people have come along with us in ever increasing numbers.
Pavlos Antoniou says, two great people talking. Thank you, Pavlos.
Yes, thank you, Pavlos. Yes, it's a pleasure to be invited by Michael. It is also a pleasure to have had Michael speaking here to our students this morning. It was a really terrific talk, and it was just one of those magical mornings at UCL that you think there is no better job in the world than to have somebody like this come along and talk to your people.
Thank you very much for the invitation and your kind words.
Pleasure.
Eleni Georgiou Kanaviotou says, great hearing from you both. Regards from Limassol. And Stathis Pistasis says, good afternoon, gentlemen from Nicosia.
Okay, yes, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon,
yes.
And thank you for joining in.
Yeah.
Richard, what's the secret to getting students to learn and absorb your message? And the reason I'm asking you this is because I've been coming here at UCL for the last 5 years. I've been hearing you lecturing, and you never, you always change the way you lecture, your syllabus. You talk about current events, you talk about current happenings, intriguing stories, and you get your students thinking about it. It would have been easier for you to settle on a fixed structure, but you don't do it. How come?
If you settle on everybody has the choice. We could have settled on a fixed structure, and we could have had a really peaceful life here, doing a bit of business studies, a bit of technology, and then everybody would have gone off and said, "Oh, it's UCL, it's really good." And so, to me, that was never good enough. The idea that you can do something on a fixed structure in relation to business, management, IT, technology, you can't. We set out to change the course once a year. We quickly found that we had to change it once a term, And in recent times, of course, we make sure that we actually change it once a week. The idea that you can have historic events as being a sort of a barometer for people in the future. There are some, but it is much better that people learn from current events and current issues and current practice and current examples. And so in recent years, we've set out to make sure that everything that the students do while they are with us is current, which is to say that now it is the end of November 2017, and our students study things that are of importance and value and critical impact in November 2017. We go back to what happened at Apple in year 2000. It's nearly 20 years ago. It's nice to look back on those things, and some students will say, yeah, we can look back on those things and, wasn't Steve Jobs clever? But yes, he was. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But the world has moved on from that, and it is necessary that you look at current issues rather than, going back over history that gets older by each time you do it.
I remember, if I can say something, 2 years ago, you were discussing about Olympiacos win at Highbury, where they beat Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then somebody else asked you, and you made it very relevant to what are each team's goals, each company's goals. Yeah. And then somebody else asked you if you are born a talent or if you become a talent. And there was a guy who came late. He looked like Puyol, the Spanish defender from Barcelona. Yeah. He sat in the corner. He was a bit late coming in. And then you turned to him and you talked to him by name and you said, how long have you been playing tennis for? He said, since I was 4. How many hours a day? 6 hours a day. Even at UCL. What time do you wake up? At 5 a.m. every morning. Yeah. So then you turned to the audience and you said, guys, are you born a talent or do you become a talent? Sure. And I still remember that. Yeah. I was mesmerized. Yeah. And many other examples, which I'm not going to be mentioning now. Yeah. So let's move a page. You're a consultant to a number of small and large organizations in all sectors. Yeah. And in which ways can you help the corporate world? Can you please elaborate a bit?
Yeah, all that we ever try to do with anything, any work like that, is, as it were, to solve problems that they've got and to make their life better than before I came in through the door. We do it in a lot of ways. I've worked for big organisations. I've worked for organisations, commercial, public service, not-for-profit, NGO, and so on. And all that you ever say is, what is the issue that you want addressing? And if we can help, then we will help. And if that means taking a step and looking at processes, or it's a step and looking at behaviour, or if it's a step and looking at standards. And then all that you do is you just simply recommend, once you have done the hard work in the company or the organisation or whatever, all that you do is recommend that these are the ways of doing things. And just as a very brief example, we did a piece of work for a very large public service organisation. Few years ago now. They were having difficulty recruiting and retaining staff because the commercial sector was paying better salaries. And the guy said to me, he said, well, how do I get over this? I said, you should try targeting the people that want to come and work for you. If you target people who want the money, you will fail. So what is it that you've got to offer that the commercial organisation has not got to offer? And of course he said, we've got international influence, we've got political influence, we've got all of these sorts of things. Target those people then. The money will take care of itself. You don't pay badly, you just don't pay as well. But if you target the people that want to come and work in an organisation like that, this will dry up. The guy looked at me as if it was, as if it was some sort of magnificent revelation. But to be truthful, all that it was it was an experience that I'd seen in the past in other companies and organisations, and where I was first introduced, amazingly, in the offshore oil industry. But it was a salutary lesson that the only way that you are going to get and keep staff is if you target people who actually want to come and work for you. If you will target people that want to come and work for you, everything else will look after itself. If you target people on the basis of money, you will necessarily fail.
Excellent advice. Edwin says hello. Hello, Edwin.
Hello.
You grew the program Management Principles and the Foundations of Management from 15 students in 1999, 1990, yes, to over 300 students today, and you opened it up as a major elective across UCL.
Yeah.
How did you achieve such a feat?
I think it was the usual three things that is across UCL. First of all is, if you're a student at UCL, you have got to be clever and you've got to come from the top level of high school grades, as I said earlier. So there is no point in targeting the cleverness because the students are clever already. So you target the other things that want them out. Right? Are you approachable? Are you kind? Do you say what you do? You do what you say you will do. If you do all of those things, then that will look after itself. We grew the program, not necessarily, people wanted principles of management education, of course they did. But we grew the program because we were friendly, we were approachable, we did what we said we would do, we set challenging work, which we then marked very quickly, and we still do that. And we have, whether we have 15 students on the program or 300 or anything else, all that we ever do is to treat everybody exactly the same. We work to exactly the same standards with 300 on the program that we did with 15.
And I've seen this happening here.
Yeah.
One question before last. What's the biggest lesson you learned in your life that has served you well, Richard? In these 40 years that you've been on this planet.
In that 40 years that I've been on this planet, gosh, yes, is that all? The biggest lesson is that if you do what you want to do and do it with a positive attitude and a sunny disposition, an awful lot of other things then fall into place. Of course, you've got to be good, you have got to work hard. But if you are enthusiastic about something, if you have a sunny disposition about something, you will work hard at it anyway. And I think the other side is the sort of the happiness, the fulfilment, the everything else. It comes from within. If somebody gives me £1 million, it will not make this job better or worse. It'll make me richer, of course it will. But the job will still remain the same. And I think as long as you look at it from the point of view that your own inner self, then an awful lot of other things fall into place.
Polis Xinaris says, amazing advice. Thank you, gentlemen. He's talking about you. You're the one giving the advice.
That's a pleasure.
Marina Constantinou, the lady that I brought you in contact with, says, great advice. Thank you very much, Richard.
That's a pleasure. Yes, thank you, everybody. Yes.
Final question. A final message for all the Michael Virardi fans and friends who are watching this episode live or who will watch it later on by Richard Pettinger.
The final message would be... first of all, to look to this thing about what gives you the inner peace, the inner happiness, the inner sense of fulfillment. I got asked a question yesterday about how to approach people who are billionaires and therefore successful. To me, the two things are connected to an extent, but is one contingent upon the other? No. If you're a billionaire, does that make you happy? And the answer is, in some cases, yes. And the answer is, in other cases, no, because I've killed my inner self, I've sold my soul, or whatever it may be. So I would say that, and the other thing that I would say is that if you follow, the example of Michael himself, if you follow your dream and your passion and you find out what the conditions of fulfilling that dream and that passion are, then it gives you a sense of purpose and also this sense of inner, not contentment, but that inner sort of peace and calmness and so on. Do you need to work at all of this? Yes, and that is what sorts out the difference between those who do get to the stages that they wish to get to and those that don't. The other example I always use is David Beckham. David Beckham became a footballer only because he was, at the age of 7, he was the last player picked in the playground for a team a game between two hand-picked teams. He said, therefore, he went home and he said, I'm going to work at this until I am any good at it. Did he become good at it? Yes. Did he work at it? Yes.
He spent thousands and thousands of hours making himself into the player that he was. And people remember his free kicks. He scored 32 of them during the course of his career.
Wow.
In order to do that, he took about 150,000 free kicks in training. And that's the final point that I would make. Know your dream, understand your dream, and understand that you have to work at it, and understand that you will do it with joy and passion because it is your dream.
Excellent. Wow, Richard, I'm impressed. Let me recap what Richard Pettinger has said today. Luck drew him into teaching because another woman said no, he said yes, he got himself into teaching.
That's right.
He wrote 30 books, some of them are for dummies, but he means smart people who want to read books that can enhance their education. He talked to us about the feeling of teaching in one of the top universities. He said it's like being home. He came here and he stuck like a duck to the water. It feels brilliant even after 29 years. How hard is it for a student to get into University College London? You have to get 3 A's, A, but then he defined A's as being approachable, as being kind, as do what you will say you will do. Then we asked Richard to tell us about how come he teaches and he changes the curriculum. He said it's all about change. We used to change it once a year, then we changed it once a month, once a term, and now we change it once a week. This is how you need to change in order to remain competitive in this competitive world of ours. Everybody has a choice, Richard says, to live a peaceful life or to do that little extra that will make them extraordinary. Here at UCL, they do that little extra. Then we asked him about how is it being a consultant in the corporate world, and he says, at the end of the day, you need to help companies help themselves by finding people who want to work for those companies who have the same purpose. It's not about money, it's about having the same purpose. Yes, money are important, but purpose is perhaps more important to have long-term employees and long-term associates. He grew the program in 1990 from 15 students to 300 students that there are today. It was simple. They did a few things. It wasn't about having clever students. It was about what I mentioned earlier, having people who were approachable, kind, and do what they would say they would do. If you do that, you stay here and you grow from here. What's the biggest lesson he learned in his life? It's about having a positive attitude. It's about being enthusiastic, something that we mentioned today also in our lecture. And last but not least, the final message from Richard Pettinger to all the Virardi fans and friends: have inner peace, inner happiness, and inner fulfillment. Money are important, but if you don't have these three things, you will never make it, or you will never be satisfied in your personal or professional life. Thank you very much, Richard. It has been a pleasure and an honor having you here.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you also for the talks that you gave this morning. Thank you also for everything that you do for UCL and for our students.
It's a pleasure and an honor.
Right.
Guys, if you share this episode, or if you comment, or if you mention anyone worth watching it, you're going to get a signed book from Richard delivered to your door, right anywhere in the world where you are. Just share, comment, or mention someone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
All the best. Bye.